Hello students, KTHM College, Department of Political Science, Class MA, MCom, MSc, Semester 2nd. So students, we are learning the subject Human Values and Human Rights. That is the additional credit subject for you all for the PG course Semester 2nd. So students, we have done with our 2 units. Now we are going to start the third unit, sorry. So the third unit is the obstacle to human rights and Indian polity. So students, when we go through our constitution, our fundamental rights, our directive principle, our fundamental duties, and many more things. So students, when we go through it, so they have the two sides. One is the positive side and one is the negative side. The positive side is that for an example, we will take the fundamental rights. Okay, now fundamental rights, when we see the fundamental rights in a positive way, they are very good, but there are some obstacles in that. Means, for an example, inequalities in society. Means in our nation, means our state India, it has many heritage and very religious dimensions. So from that, many obstacles are there. So we are going to learn one by one what are the obstacles to human rights and the Indian polity. So students, we will start now. So students, in this unit, it is introduced the various factors that are hidden in the process of the augmentation and realization of human rights. It will focus on the various obstacles in the realization of human rights by certain sections or group of people who are legally equal in all respect in eye of law, but many not be able to realize the rights in a both international and national scenario. So it will also deal with the significance of the concept of good governance and and its contribution in the promotions of human rights in the Indian context. So students, the first one is inequalities in society and human rights. So students, human rights are applicable equally without any discrimination on any ground. However, inequalities present in each society deprive the equal enjoyment of human rights. By a number of people, the social inequality led to the presence of unequal opportunities, rewards, after that social positions and distribution of resource, opportunity amongst the people or group in a society. So these inequalities bring a division in a society between the people of society as privileged and underprivileged categories. They in turn transmit a number of obstacles for the realization of legally guaranteed and legally guaranteed rights on an equal footing. So the non-realization of rights on equal footing by a group or a section of a people leads to an advantage of a socially advanced group to a society to enrich on the right of disadvantaged groups in various ways and means in an illegal fashion or seize the opportunity of others. So the unjust enrichment of socially advanced group many a times try to exploit such socially disadvantaged group from the sociological perspective, bringing in a problem chiefly in three dimensions such as objective structural condition, ideology support and social reform. So the first one, objective structural condition, will help to measure inequalities in education, then poverty, illiteracy, health and other social condition present in the society. After that, the second one is ideological perspective, supposed to examine the difference present in laws, public policy, values and cultural differences present in the society. In the view of inequalities, social reforms led to resistance by groups, by social movements for the realization of human rights of those deprived classes. So in the struggle for the realization of rights bring in conflicting situation between advanced and disadvantaged groups, which will turn in led the breach of rights of both sections. However, it is the social disadvantaged groups suffering more than the advantaged groups. In the language of international law of human rights, the international law says such breaches constitute as violence of human rights guaranteed both internationally and nationally in their realization and enjoyment. It is the duty of nation state to strengthen the justice system, especially that is translation justice for the promotion of human rights and to address the issues that hamper the enjoyment of human rights. So, among the various aspects, the constituent as obstacles in realization human rights in the fullest context view on them are discussed. That we will discuss. The first one is the inequalities dimension we are going to discuss. The first one and very formally first is population. So population and human rights are independent issues. So however, they have a close interact with each other due to the evolution of number of sovereign states and political dominance across the frontiers and designated boundaries after Second World War and decolonization. So the demographic trends and population policies evolved by the state from time to time pose challenges to human rights enjoyment in effective manners. Many of the human rights activities until the adoption of family planning policy by several countries due to last 60s and earlier 70s. So the international relationship between human rights and population was not realized. So in the beginning, impact of population was mostly concerned on economic, social and cultural right than to the civil and political rights. So the population policies adopted by the nation state being a direct impact on reproductive rights, educate standard of living, right to work, right to health, then we will say right to social security, right to water, right to safe and decent environment, right to education, right to resource, and other cultural perspective were there. There are many more. So, however, the impact of growth of population has brought in direct impact on civil and political rights due to poverty. So, lack of bargaining capacity, unaware of policy perspective of the state by majority of population. So, students accordingly, it calls on all states to adopt the steps. So there are radical steps which have to promote for the family planning and the benefits to secure the human rights. So that are radically first one is radically increasing financial support and political commitment to ensuring that rights-based family planning is available to all who want it when they want it and that service supplies and information are of high quality. After that, promote family planning as a right, the exercise of which enables the entertainment of a whole range of other rights. After that, integrate voluntary family planning into broader economic and social development because family plannings are enhanced both eliminating social, economic, logistical, and financial obstacle to voluntary family planning so that everyone who choose to use it has access to it. After that, reduce the number of means we will say unit means abortions of the pregnancies means which are not legally and the abortions by increasing availability reliability and quality of family planning supplies and services. After that, making family planning programs available to the full range of users including the adolescents, unmarried people and all those who are in that need. After that, including emergency contraceptions in range to supply of supplies available through the family planning programs. Because see students, if family planning is done, it is very important thing for the health also, for getting the right to work also, right to get education, well education, and right to be a very decent and good environment and also the good family. So India ranks second most populous country in the world with more than 1 billion. So The increasing number of population is posing a number of threats for the realization of a number of human rights, both fundamental rights and directive principle of state policy. So it has a direct impact on enjoyment of right to equality, life, qualitative life, and active participation in political, social, and economic and cultural aspects of the polity. So the increasing population has brought in unemployment, illiteracy, increasing child mortality rates, after that child labor, low wages, population right to health, social security, environment degradations. After that, serving crunch on resource. There are many reasons. There are very much many reasons. So in view of increasing number of population, around 70% of the populace, it is not in a position to exercise their constitutionality guaranteed rights. So students, it is very main to learn about the population, how we can control and have a control on the methods and promotion of populations, so that we can get a good and healthy environment, a good and healthy family, and many more things. Okay, after that, the next is poverty. The poverty, we know what is this. So in any society, poverty is linked with economic capabilities and living conditions. So however, in the language of human rights, poverty is a broad concept which has a number of dimensions. So according to the United Nations Development Program, the statement is that poverty has many faces. It is much more than low income. It also reflects poor health and education, deprivation in knowledge and communication, inability to exercise human and political rights, and the absence of dignity, confidence, and self respect. So, this definition connotes poverty may be viewed in a broad perspective wherein human rights play an crucial role in a realization and exercising the freedom that are guaranteed by the various international documents of international law of human rights to lead a life with dignity. However, across the world, there exists a relatively narrow definition based on capability approach of Amartya Sen. We have learned about Amartya Sen. He's a political thinker from India. So, according to this approach, poverty is one of the reason for the realization of certain basic rights and freedom, such as freedom to avoid hunger, diseases, illiteracy, and there are many more. So freedom here is conveyed in a broad sense to encompass the both positive and negative freedom. Thus a person's freedom to live a healthy life is containing both on the requirement that no one abstracts and legitimate pursuit of good health, and negative freedom depends on society's success in creating an enabling environment in which one can actually achieve good health. It is positive freedom. So this approach is mostly centered around the economic capability of individual in deciding the levels of poverty. So human rights, though not a part of definition of poverty, they help in reducing the levels of poverty and specifies goal oriented policy that requires in reducing poverty. Okay students, after that, in poverty we are going to learn about the its element, that is accountability. So it plays a vital role in eradicating the levels of poverty and empowering all the stakeholders of rights. All partners in the process of and development need to accept accountability at every level for their actions. This means, as stated in Article 29 of United Declaration of Human Rights, duty occupies a prominent place in realizing various human rights. All duty holders have to decide the type of accountability roles they can play in the realization of rights of their and that of others. So real framework of international and national empowers poor with human rights and caste legal obligation on others. Accordingly, states, international organization and non-governmental organization have an accountable roles to evolve mechanism to eradicate poverty between both international and national level. After that, the second one is non-discrimination and equality. So many a times, poor people, especially economically downtrodden groups, are discriminated on the various grounds and meets out unequal treatment. So human rights framework mainly revolves around the twin concept of non-discrimination and equality. It is the duty of all players to empower the poverty, which inclusive policies to integrate them with the rest of the society. This inclusiveness could only be achieved by extending their equal participation and abolition of discriminatory practices. So, in any society, the poor wants their voice to be heard, and policy formulation need to be framed to meet out their requirements instead of receiving legal regulation from the above. To meet this requirement in any society, the participation takes place only through the free and fair elections at regular intervals and integrate consent of the poor in decision making. So, right to participation in central aspects of human right to address the concessions of poor. Thus, it is the responsibility of every state to provide equal opportunity for poor for their able participation in the governance to address their concern in the realization of their human rights in order to live life with liberty and dignity. Okay, students, this is the poverty and their elements, which is accountability and non-discrimination and equality. After that, the third one is very main. We know that it is the main obstacles of our human rights and Indian polity, that is caste. So, caste is a social stratification found in South Africa. The caste affected countries at Bangladesh, India, Japan, after that Nepal, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and some of them countries in Africa and diaspora. So, what it is a distribution of people, language, or culture that are formally concerned in one place of community around the world. So, according to UN experts, more than 260 millions, means 26 crores people in world are facing discriminatory practices based on caste system. So, caste-based practices have to profound impact on the systematic violation of human rights upon individual communities, society on wide range aspects. So there was a report of international consultation on caste based discrimination in 2012. So the effect of caste based on practices, they are here we will discuss that first one is systematic violence, particularly against the women. After that, the main is extreme poverty. After that, degrading untouchability practices, means delaying the drinking water from upper caste water sources, delaying to of accesses to public and religious places. After that, intergeneration bonded labor and child labor. After that, unemployment or dangerous employment. Okay, there are many things. After that, we will say restrictions on employment for forced occupations. For example, we know that is prostitutions. Okay, and lack of access to justice and discrimination and violence from the police and justice system. Lack of access to control of the benefit from resource, prohibition of ownership and land and property. Then segregations in housing, schools, and we will say on the criminal grounds. After the abuse or discrimination against the Dalit child in a school, high dropped out rate from school due to the poverty and discrimination. There are many students when we go at the before our independence there were many things, discrimination according to the untouchabilities, how the peoples were treated there. They don't used to uh, give, means upper caste people were not used to give water to them, and they were not allowed to enter in the holy place, religious place, and they were not allowed to study at the school. So, and lack of political power of genuine, means independent political representation at all. And caste discrimination is humanitarian responsibility to disaster or conflict. Okay, so this is all about the caste, which is very dangerous, I will say, from my point of view. After that, the last one is inaccessibility to legal redress. So, students, this inaccessibility to legal redressal mechanism constitute a basic violation of human rights, especially access to justice. And inaccessibility to legal redress may occur due to lack of proper legislative, administrative, or judicial mechanism in a state to victims of human rights or civil rights. In case wherein legal resource is provided by a state, so the disadvantaged group people, so due to this diverse condition of economic, social, and cultural perspective, privileging in any society will not be in a position to access the remedial mechanism provided by a state, also led to inaccessibility to seek legal redress. So, in order to prevent such abuses or to victims of a human rights violation, international law of human rights recognize the right to access to justice as a basic human right. So, before examining the aspects of inaccessibility to legal redress in Indian context, it is necessary to understand the concept of access to justice, which is human right. So access to justice is a fundamental human right. So theoretically, every country advocates the executive, legislative, and judicial wings are wide open to prevent any kind of illegality which tackling the violation of human rights, and are have equal access to everyone to to seek remedial mechanism. So, however, in practice, practice many a times they are far from reality, especially to suffer of human rights violation. So, students, Article 8 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights 1948 prescribes the right to effective remedial mechanism for violation of human rights, and Article 2 3 of the International Covenant of Civil and Political Rights 1966 enroads the right to effective remedy through judicial, administrative, or legislative, or by any other legal mechanism that will have to possibly to rendering judicial remedies to the victims of human rights. So the right to effective remedy further guaranteed by International Convention on the elimination of all forms of radical discrimination. So in 1956, Article 6, Article 2C of the Convention of the Elimination of All Form of Discrimination against Women, Article 14 of Convention against the Torture and Other Cruel, Inhuman, and degradation, treatments, or punishment 1948, etc. So it is an established right of victims of human rights or civil rights to seek an effective remedy through international tribunals and other mechanisms established by a state at the same time. So, students, this is the obstacles, some obstacle we have seen of our human rights and Indian polity. Okay, students. So, in the next lecture, we are going to study about the abuse of executive power, means corruption, nepotism, or favoritism. Okay, students. So, students, we are going to study in the next lecture some points about the obstacles of human rights and Indian polity. So till now we have done some elements such as population, caste, poverty, accountability, discrimination. So in the next lecture we are going to see the corruption, which is very important element of the obstacles of human rights and in Indian polity. So students, thank you.